Call the meeting to order. Let's have a roll call.
Mayor Truman.
Here.
Councilmember Colbert.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Bass.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
Here.
Councilmember Evans.
Here.
Councilmember Stamp.
Here. Let's all stand for the pledge of allegiance and invocation, please.
Father God, we thank you for this day. We're thankful for this community you've given to us to enjoy. Lord, I ask you to help every single member of this community be good stewards of this community. Especially lift up our council and our mayor and our city administrators, Lord. Give them wisdom, give them courage to do what's best for our community. Lord, we just thank you. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You seated? Need to make a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify for raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to approval of the minutes of the last council meeting, June 18th. Is that right?
July 2nd.
July 2nd. It said June 18th on up there.
Ooh. Move to approve the minutes of the July 2nd, 2024 regular council meeting as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of July 2nd. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify for raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to proclamations. I have a proclamation tonight to read. Proclamation for the Park and Recreation Professionals Day, July 19, 2024. Whereas the City Council of Valley Center recognizes that the park and recreation field is a diverse and comprehensive system that improves personal, social, environmental, and economic health. And whereas the City of Valley Center recognizes the importance and the benefits of park and recreation services that enrich the lives of its citizens and help make this community a desirable place to live, work, and visit. And whereas the City of Valley Center supports the skilled work of park and recreation professionals to strengthen community cohesion, resilience, and connect people with nature and other, and provide and promote opportunities for healthful living, social equity, environmental sustainability. And whereas the City of Valley Center values the essential services of the park and recreation professionals and volunteers perform to provide recreational and development enrichment for our children, youth, and adults and older adults, and to assure our parks and recreational spaces are clean, safe, exclusive, welcoming, and ready to use. Now, therefore, I resolve it, I, James E. Truman, Mayor of Valley Center, do hereby proclaim July 19th, 2024 as the City of Valley Center's Park and Recreation Professionals Day, and encourage all citizens within the City of Valley Center to recognize and appreciate our staff. Yay. So I would like to this to Neil. I will come down there.
2024.
Yes.
Apologize.
Yeah.
Picture.
Well, I do want to make a comment that our parks really look nice. So congratulate your staff. And I guess Friday you get a half a day off, right?
Probably after 5 o'clock. Thank you. I'll pass that along there.
Okay, moving on to public forum. Is there anyone here from the public that'd like to address the council on any items that are not on the agenda? I have one. Mike? Please state your name and address, sir.
Michael Miller, 650 Scott Street, Valley Center. Mayor and council members, thank you for the opportunity to come up and speak tonight. I wasn't able to come to the July 2nd meeting, so I am a meeting behind on this, but I do want to talk a little bit about the budget and some things that I found in here. So thank you for uploading these meetings for those of us that cannot attend in person so that we can watch them at a later time. It really is appreciated. I reviewed the agenda and watched the meeting and had some questions for the council to think about before the September meeting. I have 3 points that I'd like to convey to the council. First is on page 28 of that July 2nd agenda. The city proposed a 0.28 mil reduction, which was $21,412. But then on page 29 of the agenda moving forward, that $21,412 reduction in total revenue ended up being $29,000 reduction taken from Parks and Public Grounds department. Now, looking at the general funds, there are 6 departments under general funds. And if that reduction was divided among the top 5, it would be a reduction in each department of $4,282 or $356 a month. Those departments: administration, community development, park and public grounds, police, fire, legal and court. I feel the city took the easy way out and targeted public park and public grounds for the entire $21,412, plus an additional $7,588 to make the $29,000 cut. Keep in mind that this $21,000 is approximately 1% of the general fund budget. Looking at the spreadsheet of the total ad valorem tax on page 62 of that July 2nd agenda, Valley Center was right there in the middle for total tax levy. However, if you take that same data and look at it through a different lens, Valley Center doesn't show as well. For example, if you take the 10 cities that are within 20 miles from downtown Wichita, Valley Center is second highest in total city mills. Mulvane takes that top spot. Second highest in schools. Andover takes that top spot. And 4th in total levy. Third point is house valuations went up considerably this year. So a house that was valued at last year paid $1,147.88 in city property taxes. Now that house is valued at $200,000 and will pay $1,261.41. That's an increase of $113.53. So another way to look at this is the Valley Center residents are going to pay 9.89% more if the council approves that 54.856 mil levy, or 9.32 more if the council approves the 54.575 mil levy. Either way, the citizens are going to pay more taxes because we're surpassing the revenue neutral rate from last year. It depends on the 8 of you to decide on how much. If I was sitting up there, I'd have the city go back and more evenly distribute the reduction instead of taking it all out of one area. Because if we can't find a way to trim roughly 1% out of the general fund without decimating one department, then the city is much worse financial shape than any of us realize. Thanks.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Thank you, Mike. Anybody else? Okay, moving on to appointments. League of Kansas Municipalities Conference coming up is in October. And we need a couple delegates. I'm planning on going. I think Ron's going.
I had sent out an email to all of you to check your calendars. It is in Wichita this year, so it's a great opportunity for anyone who would like to go to conference and not be out of your own beds each night. You can go home. You can, have a good night's rest. So it is in Wichita. We, as the city of the second class, have 2 delegates and 2 alternates. And if you don't know whether you're going to be here or be able to attend, I think there'll be enough with Mayor Truman and Councilmember Colbert, and then of course staff, that you wouldn't have to be a delegate. The reason I'm kind of pushing it is because we do have an early bird discount if we make those registrations before the end of July. It seems very early, but that $25 per registration can add up. There's a second tier, it saves $50, and if we wait, it goes up considerably. So that's why I'm kind of asking for this now. And so if there's anybody that, in addition to Mayor Truman and Colbert, please volunteer if you think you'll be able to go. It is important, and they make decisions. So
Any questions? Any volunteers? Ina?
Yeah, I probably will go.
How about this side of the council?
Ron already volunteered.
Yeah. I tell you what, I don't know that any of you has attended these, and I haven't attended one for a very long time, but they are really, really informational and interesting to go to, especially you get to rub elbows with just about everybody in the state. So,
Don't forget one thing, though. You get a lot of pens and napkins.
yeah. So,
So I would need a motion to delegates.
2 delegates,
And 2 alternates.
alternates, okay.
You 3 can decide and then do.
Christie or I,
As alternates.
I'll make a motion for Mayor Truman and Councilmember Colbert to be delegates, and Christy Critters and Brent Clark to be alternates.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint 2 delegates, myself and Ron as the voting delegates, and Christie and Brent as the alternates. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, moving on to old business. Second reading for ordinance 1407-24.
I guess I'll take this one first and look. Here is the second reading on the common consumption area that we had on the previous meeting on July 2nd. We did change, we did notice, thanks to our local newspaper, Chris Strunk, caught that we had some maybe changes there on section 2C when it came to kind of the boundary. And so we just removed it altogether. It was a section of ash in between basically the alleyway on the north side to the alleyway on the south side. And we don't plan to have that in that general area of consumption. And so the consumption area would end then on the east side of the intersection of Ash and Main. And so on the east side of Ash and Main is where that would end. So it wouldn't go along the street side on Ash north or south. And I'll kind of defer to our executive director of the chamber, Allison Clubb, to answer any more questions.
Does anybody have any questions?
I actually have a question for Mr. Clark or Mr. Arbuckle. We don't need to go through and do a first reading again, even though we changed it. Okay.
No, you just pass it as currently presented. So in that first reading, you can always make changes in ordinances as long as it's clarified of what you're voting on in the second reading.
Okay, just double check.
Or correct me if I'm wrong there.
Part of why you have to.
Well, I understand. Yeah, I just double check.
For discussion,
I make a motion to approve ordinance 1407-24, establishing an alcohol common consumption area during Fall Fest for second reading as presented.
Second. Have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1407-24. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Moving on to item B, to accept a bid for the Gulf Drainage Concrete Form. We have 3 bids.
Yes,
Go ahead.
good evening once again, Mayor and Council. Rodney Eggleston is on a much needed vacation after all the things that he's been going through, and so he has the night off. Before you is the quote in the amount of $26,706 for Alpha Services. This was going back to everyone that had bid it, and made sure we're comparing apples to apples as much as possible with that additional area that we discussed as part of kind of the mow strip. The little lip on each side of it, which will make it easier to maintain in the long run. So still a great price, still within our stormwater budget authority of doing kind of these smaller projects that we like to grab. And I know that this area has needed this, I mean, the entire 5 years I've been here and plus. So I know those residents will really appreciate this. Like I mentioned before, this will, the area to the south of this that drains down past Fieldstone around the ball fields and Wheatland can absolutely handle any additional water flow and velocity. There might need to be some riprap added to the south side, that just overall general maintenance that we typically do anyways on the south side of that culvert that's on Fieldstone. But other than that, pretty self-explanatory. I'll stand for any questions, but we do recommend that class Alpha Services for that $26,706. 0 cents.
Are they going to be able to get started and finished this summer?
Yeah, depending upon their schedule, yeah, the plan is to have it done well before.
Perfect.
Then the rainy season. So we really don't have winter here. We have wet season.
Cold without snow.
2 weeks.
Any other questions?
Motion to accept bid from Class Alpha Services for concrete flume in the amount not to exceed $26,706.00.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the bid from Class Alpha Services. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising. Oh, sorry.
Will you please let Lou Cicerilla know that we approved this tonight? I thought he would be here tonight.
Absolutely not.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to the new business. Item A, the 2023 financial audit report.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Gordon with Gordon CPA. We performed the 2023 audit of the city. I'll go through that audit report that you saw in your agenda packets or that you have in front of you. We'll start with pages 1 through 3. This is called the Independent Auditor's Report. Here we discuss a variety of things, including the opinion we issued the city's financial statements for 2023, management and the council's responsibilities for the city's financial statements, and then a few more of our responsibilities as well as auditors. The most important paragraph in this section is, go about 2 pages down, please. Right there. The most important paragraph here is the third paragraph down on page 1. You'll see the italicized heading called Unmodified Opinion on Regulatory Basis of Accounting. This paragraph says that the highest and cleanest opinion we could give the city's financial statements we did issue. And that's called an unmodified opinion, and it's the highest and cleanest we can issue, as I said. So that reflects very well on the financial and internal control management by city staff during the calendar year 2023. The next section forward is page 4. This is called the Summary Statement of Receipts, Expenditures, and Unencumbered Cash. Here on this page, you'll see all of the different funds of the city presented in the left-hand column. and then beginning cash for each of those funds, receipts, expenditures, and then ending cash for all of those funds. You'll see at the very bottom of that right-hand column that the city reported $29.3 million of cash on hand. And then we also have the library included there as a separate line. So just shy of $30 million on hand between those two entities. The next section forward starts on page 5 and runs through page 12. This section is called the notes to the financial statements. Here we include information on accounting policies that the city follows. There's also included in this section information on long-term debt of the city, involvement in the KPERS and KPNF retirement program, budgeted transfers that were made during the year, and many, many items discussed in this section. No major changes required by the state in this section, so it's the same as what most of you have seen over the past few years. And then the final section, at least in copy in the PDF, is pages 13 through 40. And these are just more detailed breakouts of those funds that we saw on page 4. So you'll see more details on the different types of revenues, categories of revenues for each of these funds, and then more details of the different types of expenses for each of these funds. You'll also see a comparison to the previous year, which is financial year 2022. And then you'll also see if it was a budgeted fund, how that fund operated against the budget that was adopted for 2023 as well. We did not have any auditor's recommendations to communicate to the mayor and council members this year for 2023. So again, that reflects very well on financial and internal control management by city staff. We had a good audit this year. We appreciate everybody stepping up and answering questions that we had and then getting information that we requested in a timely manner as well. Any questions for me on the audit process or our audit report?
I think we're good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do want to give a quick shout out and thank you to our state treasurer, Desiree Womack. Desiree did a phenomenal job with really leading the charge as we were in transition with our finance director from Barry Smith to Clint Miller, and couldn't have done it without her. So really, if you see Desiree, tell her thank you. We really couldn't be in the position we are with no findings and everything with the audit report without her. So really thank her and all the staff for getting everything ready. So, thank you.
Motion to accept and file the 2023 financial audit report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the file of 2023 financial audit report. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to the discussion of the golf cart ordinance.
Mayor and council, we have before you tonight a model ordinance for the potential operation on city streets of what's known as a worksite utility truck, a micro utility truck, which I understand is a vehicle that you often see people with lake houses have to go from their home down to the lake and not have to drive a vehicle down there. There's a specific description of each of these vehicles, those two types of vehicles in the ordinance itself. And of course, the third vehicle described is a common golf cart. I'm sure we're all familiar with that. The history of this, the original ordinance dealing with golf carts only arose a number of years ago. And after the golf course was completed, people using the golf course wanted the ability to drive their cart to the course, to and from the course, without obviously having a car there. That was more convenient to them. And we thought about that, and the council at that time approved that use. And the concern, I think, at that time was that these were somewhat slow vehicles, so we didn't want them in on a major street such as Meridian or Main, and so we restricted the use of those types of vehicles literally to and from the golf course. That the from being the person's home, and the to being the course, and then returning the course at the shortest path also. We also required those vehicles to be operated as near as possible in the right lane of any driving lane. But and we had, of course, insurance requirements and lighting requirements and things like that. And that was the case for a number of years. And to my knowledge, there wasn't any abuse of that process. I think Boyd would agree that people followed it. We, to my knowledge, didn't have any problems with that in the city courts. Fast forward a few years later, and of course, Councilman Colbert brought to us the change in the state law, and we believe we had that a number of meetings ago, and we're aware that use of other vehicles has been expanded under state law in other cities. And I was surprised to learn there were a number of cities, some much larger than ours, that had the use of such vehicles on an expanded basis and covered a number of vehicles. And what you have before you tonight, again, is a model ordinance that the League of Municipalities put together. And it's simply a suggestion of, if you allow such vehicles to be used on the city streets, the requirements you should be thinking about, the restrictions you might want to impose, and the types of vehicle that you might want to consider doing this for. In the proposal that we gave to the council tonight, that only covers 3 of the vehicles that I mentioned. Those are worksite utility vehicles, the micro utility vehicle, and the common golf cart. And we are, as a staff, I think, question the wisdom of allowing ATVs to be that 4th vehicle that you might want to consider. But that's a decision you make, and we simply invite that discussion and your thoughts on that, realizing that ultimately you decide, if you're going to expand it to some other type of vehicle. The requirements basically set out in each vehicle the areas that they can be operated on, and they're all basically the public streets. They can't enter onto interstates because we don't have any, but they can cross the interstate highways, but they have to be operated only on public streets. And in the case of golf carts and micro utility vehicles, we propose that they be allowed to be operated on the wide sidewalk. And if we have for instance, a 10-foot sidewalk, then we're suggesting that they should be able to use those types of sidewalks. And there are only, I believe, 2 or 3 of those in town that would apply, but that's, again, something you would have to consider, give some thought to. There are requirements for licensing, registration. This is something we're required of golf carts, as I recall, insurance. And you notice that we've left a lot of blanks for fines and things like that in a proposal. I would suggest that any licensing fees be modest fees that simply recover the cost of our personnel to examine these things. I don't see this as something we should be looking as a large revenue source. I think it's really a service, and we ought to keep it to our actual cost for doing these things. And at any rate, that's the proposal that you have in front of you. And I would like Lloyd to explain why we think ATVs is not maybe a good place to be allowed operation on the city. He's had more experience in that area than I have. But at the end of this presentation, I just want to bring this up for discussion, see if the council has any suggestion tonight or any firm opinions about ATVs. And eventually, if we don't get any further feedback, we will go to work on some type of a final draft of an ordinance that would carry out what your desires are. So if you have no questions to me, I'm just going to ask Lloyd to explain our positions on the ATV issue.
Dale?
So in the title, it says ATVs. In the title, it says ATVs.
But
in the body, it doesn't have it. So
right, the body does not have it.
Okay.
And the model ordinance probably had, I know it had ATVs in there, and you could put those in easily if you want. They would have the same requirements as these other 3 types of vehicles. But in this proposal, we have not put that in there.
I'll
show that it was the model ordinance, but doesn't necessarily have to be done by you.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll listen to Lloyd and see if I have any more questions. That's all right.
Just to clarify a couple things, we do currently have a utility vehicle ordinance. Council a number of years ago, when council allowed the golf carts, they also allowed the utility vehicles. These 3 clean that up. And also a clarifying thing, the micro utility vehicle is not allowed on the sidewalk. Those vehicles can do 40+ mile an hour. We wouldn't want those on any sidewalk, anything other than a public street. So that is not in there. The ATVs we took out. So over the years, we've had a handful of requests on micro utility trucks. I don't know that we have any in town right now. I don't see them typically driving around. You know, we've had folks questioning that. I know a lot more people are looking at them and they're becoming a lot more popular, which is why we left that in there. ATVs, unless council desired that or have had requests, have not had any requests. I've talked to you the last meeting about my experiences or our experiences at the police department with utility vehicles and golf carts, and I have really nothing negative to say about those. However, in my nearly 29 years of law enforcement, when we've encountered ATVs, I would guesstimate at least 90% run points. We've not had that issue with golf carts, of course. We've not had that issue with utility vehicles. So my desire was to leave the ATVs out of this for now, unless council chose something different. In regards to fees, we were wanting to seek council input. As far as the overall ordinances, your thoughts, if you wanted to see something different or changes in something, if you didn't like it. Fees, I will tell you, I mean, we wanted council input on that. I can tell you currently for registration for utility vehicle and golf carts, we charge $15 for the initial permit. If someone was to lose or have their little sticker stolen for utility vehicles, we charge $5 fee to get another one, $3 for golf carts. When it comes to fines, it's not defined in there, and I found earlier some language that I think needs change, but I haven't had an opportunity to speak to Barry about that. Just so council knows, this is an unclassified misdemeanor, so maximum penalty would be $500, or can, by statute, cannot exceed $500 for a maximum penalty for any violations. So I will stand for any questions.
Ben?
What all is involved in the initial permitting? Is there an inspection?
There's an inspection. They'll come to the police department, and either any of my officers. I've done a lot of the inspections for utility vehicles, especially. We inspect it. We have a checkoff sheet so that we can make sure that they meet the criteria of the ordinance and the definitions. And then once we've done that, if they pass inspection, they look like they're operable, safe. We sign off on it. They bring that back to City Hall. They have to show proof of insurance to City Hall. And then the license, which is currently a sticker, is issued to them then.
And also, can you clarify what, and I was scanning this, what exactly is an ATV versus a utility vehicle versus, I mean, I know what a golf cart is, but.
Yeah, exactly. The utility vehicles are going to be, you see a lot of them. Those are very popular right now. Those are going to be, they're both off-road vehicles. I would say that the ATV is going to be closer to a motorcycle with four wheels. You don't have the protective roll cages. You don't have all the metal around you.
A four-wheeler, basically?
Yes, a four-wheeler would be an ATV. The UTVs are going to have
the side-by-side usually.
They're the side-by-sides. You see some four-seaters, some 5 or 6, but some of those have beds, some of them don't.
Okay.
I'm sure every one of you attend the Fall Fest Parade. The last couple of years, I've led that parade with a utility vehicle that has been loaned to us. And so that's a utility vehicle.
Okay. Sorry, I just failed to ask the question about the permitting. Do we think and this may not be for you, this may be for any staff, do we think that $15 is adequate for inspection permitting? Do we need to?
I'll take this opportunity as Brent's coming up here. I think him and I agree. We would like to I'm sure he'll agree with me. I would like to visit another license. The stickers are not always easy for us to see as we're driving. I don't, when my officers are driving down the road, I don't expect, nor do I want them trying to, turn their heads, look in the rearview mirror for a little sticker. I would prefer something that was easier to see.
And so typically in what I've seen or what I've done in other communities, is basically almost the same size, a little bit smaller than your standard license plate. And then it has a large number on it. And then you just, every year you get a new sticker, just like your tag for your vehicles, and you just put it over the other one. So then you can see that number from pretty far distance. And then that's either adhered to with zip ties or somehow to the back or the rear of the vehicle. So then somebody can call in and say, hey, number 4 has been driving crazy in their golf cart. We can look back and say, okay, it was council member Matt Stamp. And make sure that we can then notify them and give them warnings and what have you. So usually that first year, we look at how much that tag costs. We pass that on 100% to the person licensing the vehicle. And so I've seen anywhere from $25 to $35 that first year for the tag. So no matter when you actually license it for the first time, you're going to pay for that plate. And then each year after that, it's a lower reduced amount back to the $15 or $20 or whatever the council decides. So then we're not having to cover that expense as taxpayers for people that want to have golf carts or mini utility vehicles.
Okay.
Just my recommendation.
Clint?
Yeah, I've actually registered a UTV, and then I just got tired of trailering it back from the lake, and it was a smooth process. And I think I was like number 9. I think I still have the sticker on the back of it, so there's not a whole lot of. I can't say I've ever seen an ATV on the road, so I don't know that that's something that's needed. You hear in the news, you don't hear about the UTV incidents or golf carts. It's always an ATV hot rodding down a road. So I'm all for leaving that out personally. And I didn't really see any other changes, and I do think increasing it would to have a better visible sign is a good idea on the back of it.
Robert?
So on this tag that you're talking about, can that tag also be transferable? Let's say they upgrade to a new model, so they can transfer that tag as long as the registration and inspection is done on the new model. See any issues with that? I'm just trying to keep this reasonably priced for those individuals. I really wouldn't want to have to go buy another tag.
By reading the ordinance as presented, I think if it's the same person, you can't, if you own 2 of them, just like your vehicle tag, you wouldn't be able to transfer, or you wouldn't be able to move them back and forth. If you had 2 golf carts or 2 UTVs, you couldn't pass that on. It would need to be the same registered owner. You couldn't pass that on to another person.
Yeah, I'm just saying if they had a golf cart that was a 2010 model and then they get a 2020 model, transferring that tag to the newer model.
What do you mean? I don't know. They would still need to do, I'll be clear, I guess, that they would need to still get that vehicle inspected.
Absolutely.
And still have to come to City Hall.
Absolutely. Yeah, registration and inspection still
I
happen.
think it would be somewhere, but that's.
Yeah, and typically, or at least what I've done in the past, if they break, because sometimes they do break off, then we just issue them a new number rather than ordering a new plate. But, those are things that we can figure out. It really depends upon the price. We have a phenomenal, Valley Print Logistics here in town that I'm sure will give us a really good price, or the new trophy place across the street. And so once we kind of have that, which we can have, prior to the next meeting, have a better price on what those cost. So, but definitely, we do want to make sure we do cover our expenses.
Yeah.
So talking about the plate size, are you thinking the size of a motorcycle plate, roughly?
Somewhere between that. I mean, we don't have an exact size. Somewhere between that and a license plate on the cover.
Okay, I'm just thinking of placement on some of these vehicles might be difficult. I'm sure they will. My concern is UTV, and I've only skimmed this as far as definitions, because when I think of ATV, I sometimes think of side-by-sides that are souped up going on the sand dunes. But the definition you gave to me tonight is that's a UTV. ATV is just four-wheelers and dirt bikes. It kind of sounds like. Okay. All right. And I agree with whoever said it that keeping those separate from this is a great idea. I also agree with Mr. Wilson as far as keeping the prices reasonable. This should not be another revenue stream. It's just a cover our costs. Next question.
Let me, while you're saying that, I'll add, the purpose isn't for revenue. The purpose is that makes them come in and show us proof of insurance, because
No,
if they're going to be driving on the streets, we want to know that they have insurance on the vehicle.
right. No, and that's great. I'm all for that. Now, next question is, last meeting, you mentioned something about small vehicle registration that they can go to the tag office and get, or I might have the wrong term. So if
Speed vehicle.
low speed vehicle, see, I knew I had the wrong term. So would that supersede this ordinance?
It would.
All right.
If they did that, they could still do that. That is essentially a golf cart. It goes a little faster than what some golf carts would, typically 25 to 28 miles an hour.
Okay. Does that verbiage need to be in this ordinance, or?
It's already in it should already be in well, I know it's already in the standard traffic ordinance book the council adopts every year.
Okay.
Everything related to low speed vehicles is in that.
What's the license plate on that one?
I don't know because I'm not seeing one right now.
Okay.
I know you go to the tag office to get it, just like you would.
I'd rather not go to the tag office, to be honest with you.
Motorcycle.
Motorcycle size.
There's one in my neighborhood that has a tag, and I seem to remember it's a motorcycle size. And there is a difference. So like there's two identical golf carts that I can get right now. One, I can pay a little bit more and I can get a certificate of origin, and then I can take that to the tag office. The other one, if I don't get that document, then I can't take it to the tag office, because that document certifies that it goes a certain speed, weighs a certain amount, and it meets those requirements. So that's kind of the difference between the two.
And those ones then by definition would not be allowed on the sidewalk. So I want to make sure to clarify that.
Yeah.
So if they're registered like that, like we do have, I think, one or two in town, yeah, those would not be allowed on the sidewalk.
I don't know if I want golf carts on the sidewalk to begin with, but
I concur.
I've
Now
seen.
it's a minimum of 10 foot
Okay.
sidewalk. So I mean, it can't go on a 4 foot, 6 foot, even 8 foot sidewalk. It would have to be 10 foot minimum.
I've seen them tearing through the baseball fields before and got frustrated. Couldn't go catch them because they're going too fast. I don't run that fast.
Well, those are only 5 foot sidewalks.
Exactly.
Ron, you have a question?
No, not really, but I want to thank the gentleman for both of them for putting this together. The price I like. I think $15 is excellent choice for the license. A lot of the guys that do have these carts, they can have carts that go to the golf course, they can afford $15 easily, but anything else, then that's not sure.
As Brent and Mr. Clark said, we'll get some pricing ideas on a different license plate. And then if council doesn't have input, if council doesn't have input on the fees or that, staff can discuss that. Like I say, there's a statutory maximum we can put on the fines because it's not a classified misdemeanor. Classified being ABC, unclassified, so there's a maximum amount that Kansas statute allows. Doesn't prohibit the judge from looking over.
So the only other thing
just to clarify on that, that's only specific violations in this. That's not violating more severe criminal penalties such as driving under the influence and things like that, correct?
That
Okay.
is just violating these ordinances on what the rules are. So other traffic, they have to follow the same traffic laws that regular car or truck would. So should they not be following those, or somebody doesn't register, it doesn't have the documentation, they can be charged with that. But as far as like running the red light, I mean, the ticket would be running the red light.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the fine on the third offense kind of high because they're obviously a habitual offender, and make it where they won't do it the third time.
So we can do that. That maximum would be $500. That's the maximum I'm talking.
That's fine, but if they need to, if they ain't got a wake up call by then, they need to wake up. And if they get the third offense, can they have their tag taken away? Is that in there? Did I miss that
I don't know
somewhere?
if that's in there.
I would say they lose their privilege for a year or two, but they can't register again.
I agree with that. I think I would like to propose a structure of 100, 250, 500, just elevated as those infractions pile up.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any action on this, do we?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on to the approved purchase. The influent pump. You have a bid there, the bids.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Sorry, up here quite a bit this evening. Before you here is an action item for you. We did receive 3 quotes for a backup influent pump, influent. This is to have a backup on the shelf. We did have to actually use our backup and put it in full operations. This is basically to handle the full load kind of coming in. So we want to make sure that we got a pump on the shelf ready to go, because I don't think anybody wants to receive those phone calls if that fails and we don't have something ready to go, because those lines can only handle so much before it starts coming back. And so that's for amount of $13,615. This is in our equipment maintenance items. That's why we do have these funds available on an annual basis, as well as in reserves. This is not dipping in the reserves. This is just utilizing the maintenance fund equipment maintenance fund that we have still in the budget for 2024. Of course, if something happens and we have to purchase more, then we may have to dip into the reserves.
Yeah.
Why not the sewer fund? Or the wastewater fund? You said the equipment reserve fund.
For the wastewater treatment plant.
Oh, okay. It's still the, okay.
Yes.
I was
the
thinking,
wastewater treatment.
Yeah, it is.
all right.
I apologize.
All right.
For this one.
I don't-
Soon to be water treatment plant fund in addition to. Right now we're just wastewater treatment.
Any other questions? Motion to approve.
Motion to accept and award bid from B&B Electric Motor Company for a sewer pump in the amount of $13,615.00.
Second. Have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of the influent pump. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify for raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to KDOT supplemental agreement number 1.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Before you is a supplemental agreement number 1 with KDOT for the letting date on the Seneca Street reconstruction project. This basically we had sent them notice, and now this is the formal process to extend that letting date for the cost share funds. Otherwise, our cost share grant was going to expire because we did receive that award way back in the original date, 2022. Yep, 2022. And so we had to then extend when we could let the project for a full year. So we added a 12-month extension to the letting date, which was 6 months after what was awarded. So that's the only change in this. Unfortunately, this round, 6 months after August 2025. Originally, when we applied for this project, cost share, this before had $1 million cap on it. And so we did actually receive the largest allocation that you could apply for and receive through KDOT after they changed it a few years in. So they did a maximum of $1,000 grant. And so that's what the $1 million grant. And so that's what we were awarded on this. So if you remember way back when in 2020, that beautiful COVID time, we had applied for like 3.6 million, and then we did it twice, and then now it's maximum $1 million what KDOT will award. However, in doing so and applying on a regular basis, that's how we were able to receive those funds through the Economic Development Grant in partnership with Park City for Ford Street. And so we really appreciate everything KDOT does for us, and so this is just extending that partnership that we have with KDOT. Now, in the Seneca project, just a reminder, this agreement is just with KDOT. That's for the $1 million grant with KDOT. The county funds and the county participation will come in a separate agreement for Seneca Street, as there is portions of Seneca that are entirely in the county. So we'll have that at a future date. This is just KDOT extending the bidding letting date.
Question?
I move to approve supplemental agreement number 1 with Kansas Department of Transportation for Seneca Street project and authorize mayor or city administrator to sign.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the KDOT supplemental agreement number 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to the CIP presentation and discussion.
No, I was just looking at the mouse. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is the 2024 to 2028 Capital Improvement Plan presentation. It is a very large presentation, but I'm only going to cover tonight the items that have been changed from last year. It is 76 pages total, but over 2/3 of that is word for word exactly what the council adopted last year on July 18th, 2023. So I'm going to kind of focus on the items that I've changed this year on the upcoming projects, as well as the projects currently in operations. Real briefly, what is a capital project? It is any project over $10,000 with a useful life of over 5 years that will basically improve aesthetic appeal. That could be anything from sewers to roads to sidewalks to buildings to signs, whatever it might be. This is a list of items that I'm going to go over tonight. This is essentially what is new for 2024. I'm going to kind of jump around, but again, it's not on this page, then it is exactly the same as the presentation last year. And the full presentation of 76 pages is again online for anybody that would want to see. Page 7. This is simply a list of the major projects that have taken place over the last 5 years. A lot of these are well past their completion date. The only thing I changed is the completion of the city entryway signs were completed other than the landscaping in 2024. In addition, Meridian Main to 5th is scheduled to be finished by September 2024, I'm sorry, for our upcoming festival. In addition, the rec center is estimated to be finished at the very end of December or possibly the first week or two of January. Page 8 is a much larger I'll bring my computer over so there won't be a lag and there's no lag. This is a list of all projects that are either currently taking place or planned for the future, or as far away as being brainstormed for even a decade from now. So what has changed on this particular page is I removed several of the projects that are not completed. In addition, I added several WAMPO long-range planning items, including Meridian 7th to 93rd, Seneca 61st to 69th, Main Street from BNSF Railroad to Colby, and Seneca from 69th to Page 9 through 13 are the financials, and let me scroll down. Page 9 is a list of the active CIP projects currently in place. The amount that is estimated to complete the project, as well as where the funds are going to come from those, be it GO bonds, whatever it might be. I have updated all financials, including revenues and expenses for these projects on page 9, and that goes you can see here, 5-year capital forecast. If it's prior revenues, it's already been paid out. 2024 budget are items that we've estimated to pay out this particular year for that project. 2025, 2026 are upcoming things for those projects. If you can scroll just a little bit, please. This is more of a total by fund, so you can see revenues and for each of those that fund might be projects. You can scroll down, please. Next page is going to be a lot more detail. It's going to be by individual project. This is actually a summary sheet. If you can scroll down, please, Brent. It's next. This is each of the individual projects that we currently have in place. These are not future projects. These are ones that are actively taking place. Again, prior revenue has been paid out. 2024 will be paid out this year. For instance, the railroad is 69th, we have the money due in 2024. And then if you scroll down, you can start seeing things in the future, 25, 26, 27, with projects like upcoming water treatment plants. And this is a summary page. The 2 pages that we just saw summarized into this page, but this is a quick glance of showing where each project's out, how much is getting paid, what is being budgeted for 2025, 2026, and 2024. All revenues and estimates. Next page. On the 69th Street Bridge, I've updated financials for this year. They were quite a bit different than last year's financials. Those of you that have written copies, there wasn't error at the bottom where it says the total project cost at the bottom is listed. That is the correct number. Those of you that have written copies of this project. Update to the financials for Meridian 66. There's a very large increase this year and last year. We're over similar. Financials, nothing else has changed on this than the financials from last year. 69. These are actually 3 new projects. There's quite a bit of new information. Everything you're going to see for the next projects was not in last year's presentation. Page 68 to 67 is Seneca 61st to 69th Street. And you go to the top of these are items that we get from AMPO funding. We have not yet received that funding. All of these are kind of future projects. This project is 2027. Hopefully, it works out how we hope to. The total project cost is $2.792 million. AMPO will cover everything but the city's share of $859,000. Again, this has not been approved. What this would do, 61st and 69th, it is a rural 2-lane road. Right now, it pops with rains and puddles. There are no gutters, there are no curbing. It's essentially a rural area, but we're expecting this to be in the future high growth area. So this would essentially widen the road out with a turning lane in the middle, with curbs, guttering, proper drainage flow on the sides, and essentially bring it into a residential quality road for our future growth in the city. This is another project, a little bit later in time frame, 2029 to 2032. This is essentially revitalizing our downtown in the area we have the Fall Festival. High-end areas of my essentially highly revitalize our downtown area and area. The total project cost right now is $4.59 million. If we can get the WAMPO funding, which we do not have yet, they would cover 3.187. We hope this would happen, kind of bring more businesses downtown, have lots and want to work downtown, and kind of just for the economic development center for us. Page 74, please. This is the last of the 3 that I added on here. This takes Seneca even further out from 69 to 70. Rural area, overlaps, puddles, and this would take it into a turn lane road, curbs, gutters, putting in proper drainage. Again, it's expected to be a future high growth area, a residential area. Total cost is $2.357 million, $1.7 million of that. This is a much farther time frame now, 2033 to possibly 20. Page 30. Water treatment plant, we finally have some good estimates for the year. We are estimating a $20 million project. Will be just south of the current water tower. The city is obtaining water wells to where we can essentially pump the water out of the ground, clean it to our treatment facility, and then ice it on to our residents, as opposed to having to solve this from the city, which is tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 rates that they currently have. In addition, this water treatment plant we're talking about, planning to build, will be 2 times the current volume usage. So we will be able to take that excess and actually help it also be ready for our future. Building something that will essentially take us well into the future. Part of the rights. The funding for this is going to be a little bit unusual. We're going to use SRF, which is called State Revolving Fund loans. These are loans that are available in projects like this. For low rate market rates possibly 2% is very, very low. In addition, the commercial market caps us at SRA loans can be taken. SRF can be taken further out in time as long as 30 years. To get the SRF loan, 1.5 million of that would be from NAVA, Build America, Buy America. Our rules place 55% of all components in the facility have to be made in America. In addition, we are applying for more grants and funding. We also plan to use the very last of our there's some 3 pictures up there to kind of show those are actually from the architectural design team. The picture at top left is the front door of the building. And the picture to the right of that is actually going to be a water testing. Water quality and all that. And then the final picture that we gave us is the next one.
We did receive word from Senator Moran's office that in his discretionary spending that they're allocating $500,000 this year at least, and then we'll be asking for the remaining 2.5 or 3 next year.
So we got a little surprise for you guys. We asked Dina
all the audience.
Okay, I'm sorry. We asked Dana Hinderleiter with Burns & McDonnell, which is the architectural engineering firm, if they could possibly put together a short little video of what the building's going to look like. This is what they came up with. There's no audio, but I can kind of. I think I see it.
Yes.
It's because he touched it.
I've got it working.
I didn't ever that night. It was just, that was not happening.
There we go.
This is the external side of the building. They are taking us essentially inside. My computer's going to try to keep up as much as it can. This is a very powerful software program. This is the corner of the building. This is essentially a break room as well as kind of a refrigerator back there, storage. When we first did this, we had an external door to that room. What we Brent and the team asked them to do was take that door and put it in the second room instead. Second room is a separate hallway. The first room is just a bathroom that you look at back out when she backs out. At the end of the hallway is going to be a door, an external door. What that will allow our police and firemen to do is they can clock in from outside the building, go into this room, which is going to have a washer and dryer, and they can shower. Right now, our policemen and firemen do not have a place to shower in Valley Center after they've had routines with the company. And we're going to try to get that fixed. What it would also do is it's access control to where they could not then go back and do the rest of the treatment. So this room right here, this is electrical. The room on the left was the water treatment plant. You saw a picture of earlier. So taking a left here, it's going to go into the room next door to that. This is the water testing room. It's going to have kind of computer monitors on the wall where they can test the water, make sure it's up to the proper quality standards. This is just a rough estimate. It could come out looking different than this. This room right here is more electrical and essentially kind of water treatment plant. This room right here will have an external door to where a truck can drive in, so they, as well as some of the storage facilities. You can see some of the water treatment facilities kind of on the main floor of the building. Filtration system. I will be updating the online website, CIT projections, financial projections that are on our Valley Center page in the upcoming days. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And if there's no questions, we're looking for 2024, 2028 CIT.
Ron?
Yeah, the first question I got is this a final presentation for this?
There's only one presentation per year. Last year, I actually watched Barry do it online. Barry didn't actually do a presentation. He just got it there for you. He updated it. I wanted to go through this year and make sure you saw the changes that have been made. Projects and missing or incorrect.
Well, when I was on WAMPO, they have some plans that are coming up. And I'm sure that the Valley Center is the one that don't want to get in on some of the grant monies. One of them is going to be the bike path coming through Newton all the way into Wichita. That's due in 2026. Get the money. That would go right through Hart City.
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Colbert.
Go ahead.
Yes, and so that actually is addressed, and we would apply with our Trails Master Plan that we have, and so those are conversations that we've had with WAMPO staff. So that's separate than the CIP when it comes to the WAMPO side of things. So as long as it's in our Trail Master Plan that we did, Neil, in 2019, has it been that long? That's included in those, and so yeah, we've had conversations with our sister city there, Park City, as well as our suburb to the south, Wichita, that to assist with those funding applications. So yes,
No, because that's
thanks for
considered
saying that. Glad for that.
a top priority project for Lampo. Because they're taking the meeting. You know, the different kind of bikes, they have electric bikes. They want to get there fast. Been in existence since 2017.
Well, and if you recall, we actually had our bike and ped master plan was funded through WAMPO. And so that was part of their initiative, to begin that process. If you recall, also on our Seneca Street, our carbon reduction grant that we received for the trail portion is off of that plan as well. So yeah, we work weekly with our WAMPO staff and partners to try to capture every dollar thanks to your lobbying in Wichita.
WAMPO projects, we can apply for them every 2 years. So
If we get special ones that you can do sooner than
and some of the ones in the CIP presentation, if we get essentially rejected, we have to apply again 2 years later, and that can of course affect priorities and projects based on what we do.
Move to adopt capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024 to 2033.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the capital improvement plan. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, moving on to staff reports. Oh, Clint. Damn.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Just wanted to give you a quick update. The Ford Street welcome sign is the electrical work that I mentioned that has begun as of today. They expect it to take a couple of days, so it's kind of phase one of the electrical work. The second phase will be the Evergy coming in to connect and hook up their part. So we're excited to have that underway. The other thing I would mention is we've got 2.5 weeks left of the pool being open. Seems crazy, but it's gone so fast this year. So try to make your way out if you haven't been. Check out the new splash pad if you haven't. I will make a brief announcement about the splash pad specifically. We've had a few little mishaps over there with some of the piping and the pressures, and our staff at McCown Gordon is working diligently for a plan to correct some of those little things that were not necessarily I think overlooked or missed or something. I don't want to misspeak on that, but something that we're going to have to address is to probably take the splash pad out of service for just a couple of days to make that correction happen. Essentially, they need to reduce the pressure so it's not so high. It's just probably quite a bit for those pipes to handle that. So that's being worked on as we speak, and we're looking at having a solution for that right away. So we can get that corrected right after the pool closes. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you, Neil. Lloyd? Rod's on vacation. Anything PC? Sure. There we go.
I'll give a quick update on Meridians. North side is moving along nicely. They're still tracking on schedule. Update on the south side. They are mobilizing next week. I know city staff had delivered some notices to the residents along the south side that will be impacted by the traffic control changes. That will be set up early next week as of now. later next week, traffic control. So it will still be two-way traffic, one way each direction. They did have an open house tonight, city staff and Christy, who's been here with the EC before, to just answer any questions that public had and had some displays, and just kind of give some information on the project. So I'll stand for any questions.
Questions? We had 9 residents at the open house tonight.
9.
Yeah, 9. So, it's better than 0, I guess. So, not exactly what I thought would turn out, but at least the information was available. And thank you.
Thank you.
Barry? Christie?
Just as an update, Brent and Clint and I met with IMA representatives today. They are our insurance benefits broker. So we are beginning the process for 2025 benefits. It seems like it's early, but it really is not at all, just on the cost factors, how they will impact our employees, how it will impact the city, and how we can save dollars for the city and our employees to try to give the best benefits to our employees that we possibly can. And so that's beginning, and we're starting on that. Wellness Committee has also met, so we're looking at some small changes maybe to the wellness program for next year. That, again, that would save employees if they participate in the wellness program, and they would have to in order to get a better discount for their insurance premiums. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Brett?
One thing, wasn't sure if Chris or I were good. As you've seen on our postings and everything, we did hire a new community development director, Kyle Fiedler, who is currently the North Newton city administrator, is going to be joining our staff and team as the community development director. And so we're really excited to have him join our team. It was kind of interesting because I remember I met him first when he worked for Sedgwick County when we were going through the TIF process. And he worked in a great department with another Brent Shelton with the county, and has gained a tremendous amount of experience being a city administrator. And now he really wants to get into the economic development side of things. Really want to thank all of our staff that participated in the panel of interviews. And so we did have department directors, interview panel, and then also the department itself. And so Brittany, Bill, and Esteban all participated on a panel as well to interview the top 3 candidates. And we really are excited to have Kyle start. Hopefully, I believe it's that first week, August 5th, is his scheduled first day. So if you have any questions, let me know. Stay for any questions.
Anything? Thank you. Moving on, governing body reports. I don't have anything. Ron? Robert?
I'm good, sir.
Councilman Bass?
Nothing for me. Appreciate all the hard work on the ordinance, I guess, for the golf carts.
Nothing.
Tina?
Nothing.
Dale?
I have nothing, thank you.
Chris?
I have nothing.
Matt?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is adjourned. Do I get a second?
Like Julie Mangin.
Oh, I got it down there already. I have a motion to adjourn. I have a second. Any further